for Ollie, how difficult has it been with all the other they're nice distractions, but obligations?
I think it's been a challenging year, and one of the reasons why he came back was to try to deal with all that, because if you ever get to be, number one in the world or whatever as a professional, then you're going to have all that stuff with you, and and there's several reasons why he came back, but I think the weight of being number one weighed on him. Now you're being chased, you're no longer the chaser, and all that went in that, and I think if you look at the one event where he played really poorly, was in March in Florida, and we came back and we met early the next morning and talked about how the year had gone and where we were and all those kind of things, and I think he finally sorted it all out, and I think he's been at peace with everything the last 4 or 5 events, and I think the last 2 months have gone the way he'd hoped the whole year would go. So he's in a good place, and that stuff's gone, and
right.
Not carrying that around anymore, and he's just going to go try to go win a national championship.
Well, I guess
there was
that's
a lot.
Easy to focus on that then.
Yeah, and I think some of this other stuff is kind of, we've talked about how he can't control any of it, and we need to let it go and be a pro when you're a pro, and life will take care of all that kind of stuff. So he's been much more relaxed, and I think at ease and at peace with everything since we got back there in March. And he hasn't won anything, but his play is significantly, back to where it was. So winning sometimes, getting a run like he had last year, it just gets to be easy, and sometimes you're just finishing second and fourth and fifth or whatever, and some guys just, it's easy for them and it's not for you. So I think he's has a chance to really do something this week, though.
How prepared is he to go on from even after Bradenton, and then it's going to be pretty big time after that?
It's big time, but he's waited for it patiently. He's watched his best friends win events on tour and do all those kind of things. I think it's like he's been this racehorse at the Kentucky Derby who just keeps bumping into the gate, and I think he'll be ready to run. He's very grown up, he's very mature, and it's what he's wanted his whole life, and he's finally going to get a chance to go do that. So I think he'll be fine.
You give these guys instructions when they leave? Okay, go out and beat some Georgia guys?
Right now, it's just kind of funny. We used to get a phone call or two when those guys were in college going, what's going on there? We used to beat them all the time, and I just call them up now and said, now they're your problem. So, no, their professional play the last 2 years has been phenomenal. But our guys have been out there a long time, and they've won a lot of money and they've won a lot of tournaments. So I don't worry too much about that.
Yeah.
With teams come on the last couple of tournaments, they've started kind of slow, but have come on late. And I know you'd like to change that, but
I'm not going to talk about it. I think that's one of those things in golf. You can just make a little problem into a big problem. If they don't realize they start slow, and you start talking about, now they're on the first tee going, well, coach just told me we start slowly. So, I guess if I had my choice of starting slowly or finishing good, or starting well and finishing poorly, I'll take what we're doing right now. Again, they're young. I mean, Chris is maybe 7th or 8th tournament now. He's in college as a college player, and Vince is 6th or 7th, and James the same thing. So this is all new to those guys, and we just tried to focus on the fact that with 5 or 6 holes to go, we weren't going to win the ACC, and they played well down the stretch when we won that ACC Challenge up in Nashville, and then obviously the regional performance was some of the clutchest stuff I've ever seen. So. I think sometimes people think the last round's the hardest because you see people struggle closing events. I think for tournaments like this, the first one's the hardest.
Didn't mean to make that a criticism.
No,
what's it say about this team when they need to bear down?
They've clutched it up, and the young guys are learning how to play well when they're nervous. But I think overall the first one, there's a reason for that. It's when you have a chance, and you get pretty amped up about it. And I think once you start playing well in a tournament, momentum almost can carry you all the way through the end. So the first round is big again, and we just try as hard as we can to get them relaxed. Don't make a big deal out of it. It's just another day, but they know what it all means, and so I think getting started is a battle for everybody.
You have the 2 seed, obviously Ollie and Anders are tough. Then you got, just as you said, how young Chris is, and 2 freshmen to the side, and that sophomore. How have you seen them come of age?
Yeah, they've you know, because these little rallies we've had, it's not just been, you know, obviously those two have been part of them, but two guys can't get it done. I mean, I think, you know, look at the ACC, Anders doubles, he doubles 17, but Clark birdies 17, Pete Fish birdies 18, Vince birdies the 2 holes, you know, in the playoffs. So you just keep trying to tell them, you know, that it's good enough. I think the hardest part for a young guy is to feel like I'm good enough. You know, they always worry, can I do this, can I do this? And, you know, so hopefully they've learned that they can. And they've done a really, really nice job for stepping in there with guys that hadn't played at all. And again, we've won 4 times and won the conference again, you know, when we weren't supposed to, I guess. And so I'm very happy with they come along. They've worked really hard. You know, look at James, showed up here in the summer early and weighed 111 pounds. And he's walking around and we're strapping 135 now. And so again, good job in the weight room. Chris is a much bigger, stronger kid than he was. And they've just done everything we've asked them to do. They succeeded in school. And so they've been great.
Now after the Valspar, were there some magic words that
he and I, we spent a couple hours together.
Yeah.
And just revisited everything we were trying to do, and I admitted to some mistakes. And he
Not you.
Yes, and I think part of what we had done is he's so passionate and he worked so hard, and there was so much on the line that I probably gave him more autonomy than anyone we've ever had. And as the world was pulling him away, and then you give somebody that much autonomy to be away, I think sometimes you forget where you're at.
Yeah.
And so we just pulled that back in and talked about how it wasn't anybody's fault and nobody did anything wrong, but we've got to really kind of restart the clock about what we're doing and stuff. And he agreed and admitted some things that he had done that he didn't think were the best interest of himself or the team or being a good teammate and stuff. And he's been as good the last 2 months as he's been since he's been here, as far as being engaged in what we're doing and what's important. And I think he's let the individual stuff go. He just wants to win as a team. So
yeah,
it's really good.
I see where that'd be hard, because it'd be hard to stay connected to the team.
Like with Cooch and those guys, you know, one, we had so many good players that you continue to have every guy in every qualifier because you just had to.
Yeah.
Where these two, you know, have separated themselves pretty significantly, and you kind of ask yourself, well, would it be better for him to go practice or go spend 5 hours beating the other guy again? And, you know, on the other hand, you only get better when you play with better players. And so, you know, again, mistakes were made on both sides. And as the world was pulling him, I wasn't really pulling him back.
Yeah.
And we just kind of kick-started the deal, and it's been phenomenal. So he helps them. He's engaged in what they're doing, and you know, for those young guys, for him to help them is a big deal.
This goes to my Chris. He came in early, sat out his first week. How did being ahead academically adjust this year?
I think it's huge. You know the golf courses. You know how to go to school here. You know, he came to get a head start because he wanted to play right away and you know, sacrifice your last semester of high school. You know, we've had several do that now. Ollie and Anders did it. Richie did it. Now they're starting to see other programs do the same thing. But there's no question that the academics and everything that's involved, big city, driving around, you know, our practice facility here's on campus, we have to go other places. So, you know, you go get 13 or 14 hours past and kind of get used to the weight room and everything involved. You're way, way, way ahead of the game if you want to play as a freshman in the fall. So.
You noticed last week you went home. How excited was he last week to? You notice a little extra hop in the step for that?
You know, he doesn't. He's pretty even keel. I can't really tell when he's excited or when he's not. But you know, I think he's just excited about playing. This is what he came here for, was to play in the postseason, and I think he'd be happy doing it anywhere, really.
What do you feel like your chances are?
I mean, it's the reality of it is. Those two guys are going to have to play good.
Yeah.
But they can, and they have. And I firmly believe now, at this point of the year, that those other 3 guys are plenty good enough to fill in the blanks. I'm not sure that they're good enough if one of these guys kind of throws a shoe. But I am convinced that if these 2 guys do what I think they can do, because I think Anders right now is playing the best golf of his life, and Ollie's going to play good, that those 3 are plenty good enough to get to match play. And then all of a sudden, you know, if you watch that, I've learned one thing: if you can win the first match, you know what it means? Now you just got to go 500. If you lose the first one, now you got to win 3 out of 4. And if if you look at the teams who won that and had success, they've had one or two guys that just go get you a point.
Yeah.
Patrick Reed did it. Bobby Wyatt did it. And so all of a sudden, if these two guys go whip somebody, now you just got to go 1 and 2, you know. And so, you know, we're going to have to play well. The way the regionals fell, I think the top 17 ranked teams are all, no one missed. There's no one that you're dodging going down there. And, you know, it'll be a different experience because, you know, everybody there were several teams who snuck out to Prairie Dunes last year to kind of get a look. Nobody's had a look.
Oh, wow.
Now, there are some coaches that have taken their teams down there this week. You know, maybe they're smarter than I am. I think showing up at a national championship 4 or 5 days early, I mean, this is about trying to keep things. And so with just one practice round, you know, you could have a weather situation, you could get a break, the early-late thing, you know, do you get the good afternoon? And so there's a lot of factors that go in and where you've got to have some luck and some good fortune. But I think the fact that they've won these events, I think they can play well. And from my observations, the way we're playing right now, it's as good as we played all year. So if we do what we're supposed to, get a break or two, then, you know, hopefully we'll get a chance to play in that match play again on Monday.